That sounds like a movie thing, but that's literally how intense the pressure to please others for the sake of the holidays can feel. We'd rather create an elaborate lie, a scheme, or a facade than face questions because we don't know how to navigate questions. So as we record this, we're very close to the holidays. I am going to be honest with you. I've never really enjoyed them. I'm not like a Grinch, and I always struggle to say that. If I'm honest and tell you, I just have a hard time. And it's not that I don't enjoy them. I have a very hard time getting into the Christmas spirit, to throw up air quotes. Man, I guilted myself for a long time over that, but it's just hard for me because I don't know. And it's always been a point of almost confusion. I see friends and family that are like, man, we love Christmas and everyone's getting into it. And I will say the last Christmas and this one, I genuinely have probably enjoyed the most. But I look at me and then I look at everything else and it's like, do I really just not, or is everyone else just compensating? Does that make sense? Do you really enjoy it as much as you say you do, or are you deflecting and overcompensating for something? I'll say it's kind of it's like a scenario of, and you see it all over Instagram. You're 3 days into the holidays, you've smiled through every passive aggressive comment from family that you see regularly or family that you haven't seen in a year, having to answer Instagram questions, the same questions about your life choices, oh, have you done this yet? Or, oh, look, so-and-so's doing this, so-and-so's doing that. And then you find yourself just hiding out in the bathroom, scrolling your phone just to breathe. Sound familiar?
Oh, 100%. 100%. And I think you nailed it on the head. Obviously we recognize that during the holidays, it can highlight or magnify, I guess is the word, losses, and so if people have lost somebody that during the year, or it's been, a couple of years and that person's gone, a significant person in their life, the holidays kind of magnify the fact that they're gone, where, the rest of the years we're able to maybe cope fairly well. Holidays it can become difficult. But then there's also the shoulds that get placed on us in this time, that we should be looking forward to getting together with family that we don't hang out with on a regular basis, or we should be excited about having to make small talk, which I know for you and I is the most horrible thing in the whole world. There's a lot of those shoulds there that I think really cloud this season. That's just kind of my thoughts on that,
I mean, when it comes to small talk, I've gotten to where I would just be quiet, and I'm totally fine sitting there and being like, I really don't feel like having surface level banter that is just meaningless, to be honest with you. And I realize I might be calling sound like a real asshole right now, but in those moments, because the world, my default is, and this is a boundary, which we'll get into, is because the world's so noisy and there's stuff going on all the time. I'm totally fine just to sit and be like, you know what? I can enjoy being in the room. I don't have to talk, and I'll just be quiet. And it's a chance to be contemplative and just kind of look at what's going around. Not wish that I was somewhere else, but I don't have to talk to enjoy being somewhere. So I'm totally fine just sitting.
I love that.
Sitting, being quiet and intentionally engaging when I'm spoken to. But I'm not going to go out of my way to have surface level just banter about the weather.
I love that. And people don't know how to deal with silence.
No.
Right. And I think that my thing is, I'm the same way. I'm totally good with just being silent, being in my presence there and that kind of stuff.
But when you do it, people look at you as what's wrong?
Right. Why are you mad?
Why are you mad? Why are you not wanting to be? Do you what's going on? What can I do? And it's no, I don't really need you to fix anything.
And I want you to challenge me on this. If this might be a really bad mindset, but I have a hard time going and this is with family and friends. So I'm not trying to lump everybody together, but if you don't care about my day to day and my week to week, it's really hard for me to sit on a Christmas dinner or a Thanksgiving dinner or a holiday get together and really want to engage in any kind of depth, because I know it's just it feels very placating. It feels very, oh, this is what we should do. I should be asking you these questions about life. But both of us know that you're not going to continue this. Like, you're not going to, check in on me next week, or and if I check in on you next week, you're forced and fake. Like, we should be excited to see each other. I don't know where I'm going to dig myself a hole right now, but
No, I get where you're coming from. It's almost like you're forced to be in someone's Instagram post, like just a snapshot. But I will say I used to be as a default the same way, where it's like, if I don't hear from you, we don't text, we don't do, whatever, and you're not someone that I regularly engage, whether it's in those, 1, 2, or 3 degrees of relationship spheres that I've got, and I run into you, like, I don't really, like, why are you bothered to ask me this? Like, I don't really, what's, you're not like you said, you're not gonna do anything with it anyway. Then it kind of shifted, and I was like, you know what? I don't want to, like, overly invest to come off as like, oh, look at me, look how awesome I am. But it's kind of like, I will look through that beyond what's going on, and just be and be as upfront and invested in that conversation as I can in that moment. More or less from a place of, hey, you asked how I was doing. Maybe you're expecting the, oh, I'm okay response. Well, I'm going to give you the honest answer and add value here, knowing that it may not go somewhere on the other side of this, but also giving you a window into, oh, wow, this is actually what I do, or what goes on beyond just this window. So maybe you're missing out, or maybe something will shift, or maybe it'll create a new opportunity. So that's sort of the way I go with it. Not to overextend, but just to say, hey, I'll just take this moment and bring the best that I can to this right now. That's fine.
and I choose. I think I hear you, and I do choose to do that, um, for the most part. But to me, it's just um, exhausting.
Well, it's exhausting. But there's also a lot of pressure with the holidays too. Just to switch gears, like, slightly. I think Hallmark has ruined just about every holiday out there.
Oh yeah,
Just from the sense that everything has been so, like, retailified, and the way things are, like, the pressure that comes from it, and a lot of it's got to be subconscious. I mean, it's probably August, middle of August, you go into, like, Lowe's, Home Depot, and other stores, you've already got Thanksgiving stuff set out. And then first week of September, you've got, Halloween's out. Then you've got Christmas is out for like 3 weeks. And then by the time Christmas gets here, all the Valentine's Day stuff is out. So you're being forced into this over pressurized state of, like, I need to be buying this. I need to be doing this. I have to get something for someone. I have to do all of this way in advance. You're now thinking of, like, what do I have to spend on this holiday, or being lured into it. And so the pressure to be like, oh, they got me this. Now I have to match it. I have to exceed it. I should be doing this. I should be doing that. It's just so much. And that's what really draws me out of the holidays. Like, it's fun to give gifts and do all that, but it's also, there's just so much there. And I'm like, it's just so much unnecessary pressure, and it's all been diluted, anyway. And then, to be honest, the holidays just generally suck for some people, like grief, loss, and you see things that are out there, and people feel like, well, man, like, everyone's happy. Should I be happy right now? Like, is there something wrong with me because I'm not happy? No. And I don't think we talk about that enough. I mean, one of my favorite Christmas movies is Christmas Vacation. And so you think about that whole movie is Clark Griswold trying to pressure himself into having the most picture perfect, ideal Hallmark Christmas in his head. And then he repeatedly gets punched in the face by life over and over and over and over and over again. And that's like a huge gap between our expectations, either that we set on ourselves or have been pressed upon us, and the reality. And I think that's largely where holiday stress lives.
And yeah, it's this modern Western American, it's the Americanization of what holidays should be like. Um, and it should be cheery, it should be great. Now, don't get me wrong, there's a lot that I personally love about the holidays in the sense of I love the baking we get to do. I love the Christmas movies that are out. I love the music. I love the fact that we get 2 weeks off to slow down and spend time with family. There's a lot that I really enjoy, but I think there's a that well, they do because I think they get so caught up in well, and think about it too. I mean, we didn't even talk about this. Think about the pressure to of consumerism.
Well, we're going there in a minute. Well, we're going to pressure in a minute. But yeah, like a lot of that we overlook. I mean, what has brought me the most happiness and what I enjoy most about the holidays now, like the last year and especially more so this year, is that we sit down every Sunday evening and find a Christmas movie to watch. And we've gone through some like the classics, Elf, What a Wonderful World, Santa Claus, Santa Claus 2, Christmas Chronicles, like some of those like good ones, Polar Express, movies that like I may have seen a long time ago but hadn't revisited. And that's been something fun to revisit because it's like, cool, this is what we're going to do. And that's been really enjoying for me. But there's four things that I see that I want you to flip on your clinical hat and unpack these. And then I have a thought. So first one, I feel like the holidays compress relational dynamics into a pressure cooker. Remember when those like Tefal pressure cookers and things were like first coming out, and now there's like the Instapots? Like it's the whole microwave culture and Instapot thing where like family dynamics and relational dynamics are like cooked into a pressure cooker from the holidays. Old family roles resurface. Like you'll walk into a place and be like, I thought I had forgot about that. And now suddenly there's this frustration with something that happened in my family when I was a child. Um, you know, Suddenly you can be 14 again at the dinner table. Grief becomes louder when there's an empty chair. I mean, I've watched that with close family. It comes up, when you tend to see the empty chair in the living room where a spouse that's passed used to sit, and you start to think about that more. And a lot of people should feel like they shouldn't. And to be quite honest, like we've talked about it, my girlfriend, my absolute best friend, she's a widow. And one of the things that I'm very sensitive to is making sure that we hold space so that those moments are always there and that her and her girls always have space for that. Like, I don't want to replace it. I don't want it to be overshadowed. Like I want them to always have space to celebrate, to process, to feel, and to think through. And the holidays make that a lot harder. Loneliness intensifies financial stress, even the pressure to feel joyful when you don't, because it's just shitty, creates a second layer of shame. So that was 3. I want you to unpack some of those for a bit.
I don't know if people are going to like this. I'm going to say it anyways. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that we are become acutely aware of the work that we have to do in our own life around the holiday season.
To perform?
No, we've done a good job of numbing, avoiding, or ignoring throughout the whole year, and it gets magnified. I've used that word too many times. I got to think of a synonym for that, but it just gets, it becomes that, like you said, the pressure cooker of all these things that should be in place and should be good, but we've not done our own work of grief or our own work of mental wellness or our own work of whatever throughout the year. And we're acutely reminded of it during the holiday season. And I think that's sad because I think if we are working, we'll talk about this in probably in a future episode, but if we're working on self throughout the whole year, these hard things don't go away, but we are in a better place to handle them differently. And I think part of that is the tension of, and I think you beautifully said this when you talked about your girlfriend and their family, is that you can have a beautifully enjoyable holiday season and still feel grief. It's the not the either or, it's the both and holding those things in tension. I can still feel lonely around the holidays and still find goodness in it. I can still miss this person that should be here, but they're not, and still find joy in the holidays. It's I think we've gotten so not myopic, what's the word when we reductionistic, that it has to be this way. It can't be both.
Yeah, I mean, it's either supposed to be extraordinary and over the moon, or anything other than that is non-existent. Um I think it boils down to we feel like there's two responses, and it's often given in a lot of advice, and it is rampant everywhere right now on social media, where it's either just set boundaries, which is way easier said than done, and hey, right now, and I mean, I wouldn't even want to know the number of churches that this was their sermon series from December through now is, hey, we're going to practice gratitude. We're going to really practice gratitude, and you have to be grateful right now, which can feel dismissive when you're struggling. Like, I don't know how to feel anything right now. How the hell am I going to feel great? How do I practice gratitude? Like, and I've never liked that statement. It for many it implies you're putting something to work that you don't even know how to be. You're not even you're not even grateful for yourself. Like, you don't even know how to be grateful for what's here, and you feel like you should, and then someone's like, "Oh, we're going to practice gratitude for the next 30 days." Well, that's all fine and dandy, but where the hell do I start?
Well, and practicing gratitude is something that you've got to do. It's a neural pathway that has to be grown over the year.
It's a discipline. I am still terrible at it. We had an end of year team meeting this week, and there was a thing, if you're familiar with the entrepreneurial operating system, EOS, there's a thing in there called the golden hot seat, where you sit there and you are like affirmed, and people tell you what is awesome about you and what's great. And I, to this day, struggle to acknowledge, wins and successes. I can do it in other people, but to even speak of gratitude is hard for me, because it's always been one of those things where it's like, if I say that I'm grateful for this, then now the bar is here. Now I have to talk myself out of that mindset of like, okay, I've said this is something I'm grateful for. Now the bar has raised, and I have to raise that somehow. I've gotten disciplined and worked that muscle to not do that, but most people just don't understand what it's that you can't show that in someone else if you can't first do it, practice it with yourself. So the point here being, like, with all the crap that comes along with the holidays, just simply setting boundaries is not enough. And so I kind of want to move into some practical ways we could set boundaries that actually work. Since it's the holidays, another movie reference that I love Home Alone. Or no, not Home Alone. There's a movie on Netflix called Home for Christmas. And in this movie, the main character, Joanne, literally invents a boyfriend just to get her family off her back about her life choice to be single. Like, that sounds like a movie thing, but that's literally how intense the pressure to please others for the sake of the holidays can feel. We'd rather create an elaborate lie, a scheme, or a facade than face questions, because we don't know how to navigate questions.
Talk about the navigating questions piece.
I used to be of the mindset if someone asked me a question, I had to give you an answer. I had to give you the answer with the same or more value in my response in the question you asked. And so it felt this pressure to perform. So like, if you asked me how I was doing, I would like start thinking of what's the answer you're seeking for, or hey, how's your career gone this year? I felt this overwhelming pressure to like explain in a bunch of different details how my career went, because I thought you were looking for like to see how successful I was. And I didn't know how to respond to question asking. Now if someone simply asked me, "Hey, how are you doing?" The blanket response is like, "Oh, I'm okay." But what I first started doing was, instead of saying, "Oh, I'm okay," I would give you an answer that was more, and this helped me shift away from that and better navigate question responses, is instead of just saying okay, I would say, if I truly was okay, I would say, hey, you know what? Honestly, uh, I'm not doing as great as I would like to be right now, but I'm also not doing as bad as I could be either. And so instead of just simply saying, oh, I'm okay, what's the best response I can give you, but without coming up with some like stupid reply?
What would happen if we just answered honestly? That would throw people off so bad. I mean, if we, instead of creating these cocoons of falsities and fakeness, but that would don't do that right now, because that would cause a lot of more problems, and especially if they're not safe people. Um, but I just got that picture in my head.
So for me, and I'll tell the listeners and watchers, by the way, if you're over on YouTube or not, do us a favor, like, subscribe, and turn on those post notifications to always stay up to date with all the cool stuff we have coming. We have some really fun stuff coming in 2026. So now let's continue on. I have tried to go, that was a point of contention with me in family scenarios around the holidays, was like, how do I respond to all these questions that are going to be asked of me? And then knowing that my default from my own early stages of my mental health journey was that I would go to the extremes of thinking. And I think that's true with most people, would tend to teeter-totter on the ends of the pendulum swing. So I would, go into like, oh, how's work? Would have to give you an extreme answer. Or how's this? And if someone asked you like, when are you getting married, or what's going on? Like think of the big life questions, or those big formative questions, and like where you feel it in your body, and then how to respond to them. I was terrible at it. So I would just avoid them. And then the easy work was start and saying, okay, just simple. Like, instead of just saying, okay, I'll give you the answer. Oh, I'm not as good as I'd like to be. I'm not as bad as I'd like to be either. Which to me, like, I can be grateful for that. And that typically, what I learned from just using that, garners a much different response. Like, tell me more about that.
Or you know what we could do? You and I could report back on this in the new year, but with anybody that asks us kind of how we're doing, well, let me tell you about this new project we're doing called Mental Health Made Simple, and all the, that's my favorite thing to do is when I get on an airplane. What do you do for a living? Oh, I'm a therapist, and it either turns people away that don't want to talk, or I've got somebody I can talk to for the rest of the airplane ride. But it'd be interesting to see how that's kind of my cheeky side, but kind of just stepping in and kind of like, well, let me tell you about this great thing and all the mental health stuff that we're doing. And I wonder how that would go off in your family. I know how it'd go off in my family, but
they've gotten better. But typically, you bring up anything revolving therapy, anything like that, it usually garners like an immediate off switch and like immediate shift in conversation. So that's also a tool. Like, what's the one thing I can say to you that's going to make the conversation shift away from me? I don't recommend anyone do that, but that is a response. So getting into boundaries, I think there's four things, and correct me if I'm wrong or add to these, that I see and that I have experienced when it comes to holidays, and what I think are the sources or the catalyst for overwhelm that we experience around this time of year. Sensory overload. Noise, crowds, lights, music everywhere. Think of all the holiday parties, all the public gatherings you have to go to, put you out of your routine. Decision fatigue, gifts, travel, meals, schedules, babysitters, pet sitters, like on repeat over and over and over again. Like, where are we going? When are we going to be here? And it's already the end of the year. You have been doing that all year long, and now it's cooked into a short period of time. Emotional labor, having to manage everyone, feeling like you have to manage everyone's feelings. I would say feeling as though you have to manage everyone's feelings. And then identity tension is one. That was a big one for me. And who you've become, who you're becoming, versus who your family hope you become and who they wish you are becoming.
That last one I think is a big one, because when you get together with family that maybe hasn't seen you for a year or 6 months, but they remember you acutely for who you were when you were a kid, right? And you're not that way anymore. One of the things that really irks me a lot is when we get reduced to our birth order. Oh, yep, he's the firstborn. Oh, she's just the middle kid. Oh, she's the youngest. It 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 takes away from the God-given intentional hard work growth that a lot of us have put into the year, and we get placated or reduced to that. That really bugs me.
That one, not so much. Other than the comparison that gets done amongst people in your family, that whether it's meant to, or even whether it's meant to or it's unintentional, makes you feel like you're not doing enough compared to, like, when you see someone talk about, Aunt Susie's, you know, oldest just did this extraordinary thing, and then everyone's like, "Oh no, tell me more about that." And you're kind of like, and it can lead you from like, "Okay, yeah, what are you? Oh, you like? Have you heard? Like, oh man, just those little things. Um, that's always tough."
Yeah, but I like what you said about the sensory overload, the decision fatigue. I think all those are really important, and I think a lot of that has to be. We've talked about this on on this show before. I think the idea of pre-planning our battles. So I enjoy being around my extended family, and there's a point where it becomes overwhelming, but it's only because we've got 8 kids under the age of 17 and 4 boys under the age of 6. And so when we're all together, it really creates a sensory overload for me where, and I'm if we're talking about my 5 intelligences, I'm intellectual, emotional, and sensual. And so my sensory overload can be fine, 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 not fine. Right. And so I'm already thinking about Christmas Eve next week at my sister-in-law's house. It's going to be great. I know that we're going to be there for about 2.5, 3 hours. Okay. I can now conceptualize how I'm going to maintain. I'm still, and for those that are listening, I'm still bound to my boot and very, very limited mobility with my injury. And so I know I'm going to be placed in a chair in the middle of the living room and surrounded by this chaos. Okay. So I'm preparing myself to go, how do I stay present? How do I stay engaged? And then how do I detox when I get home? Because the next morning we'll do our family Christmas here at our house. And then we're going to my mother and father-in-law's house where we'll all be together again. But this time it's like 8 hours. And I know that I have a couple different spots in the house that I can go to decompress. It's going to be in the 70s here, so I can step outside for a little bit if I need to. Grab my crutches. I can go sit in a different room if I need to. So I'm not going to be surprised by these things. I know that I'm going to get to a place of overwhelm, and so I've just got to create. So I always, so a boundary that I encourage people to think through is pre-plan your battles to create space and margin for yourself, not to get to overwhelm.
So I was going to ask you, since everyone here has set boundaries, and we flung that word around a couple times. So boundaries that actually work. What does that look like when you can't escape Aunt Linda continually asking you when you're going to have kids, or when are you going to, when are you going to retire? When are you going to move? When are you going to do this? Like when are you going to do blank? Mine, and I want to hear yours, and then you can tell me if this is effective. And it's in line with what you're thinking. I don't really sort of pre-plan the whole thing, of what the days, and like pre-plan what's going to happen. I like name my non-negotiables. And whether it's like, okay, we're going to go to this thing. I'm only going to have one drink, or maybe I won't have any. I'm going to leave by X time. I'm not going to engage in political debates. Like, whatever they might be. Like, naming your guardrails and then having those decided ahead of time. Again, there's so much power in naming things, is what I believe. Means I don't have to make those choices in the moment when emotions are pressurized. I've already decided it, and then that's in place, which is, I think we call that a boundary.
Yeah.
So for me, it's the non-negotiable. Like, I'm like, this is what I'm not. Like, I'm going to name what I'm not going to do. I'm going to have my to-don't list in place, so to speak. So that the things that I can do are like, this is what I can do I'm just going to pre-decide what I'm not going to do. For me, it's easier that way.
I think that's good. I don't think that's bad. Does it work for you?
It does. It does. I'm curious, like you named basically the exit strategy. I need to step out for some air, like the shift around. How does that work well for you?
It does. I also think coming in and going, okay, this person. So you said Aunt Linda. So like this person's always going to ask these questions. I shouldn't be surprised by these questions, nor should I be offended by these questions. So you're preparing yourself for the questions that Aunt Linda's going to ask, because she always asks these questions. And if you get married or are retired, she's going to ask a different set of questions, because that's how she is. So don't be surprised by, I think that's another boundary, is don't be surprised or offended by some of these people that are always the same way. I've got a couple people in my life that will never ask me how I'm doing. I'll ask them, we'll have a conversation. It's never reciprocated. I don't know if that'll ever change. So why am I surprised by it, and why am I offended by it?
Yeah. I mean, again, power in naming things. Like, wait a minute, zoom out. Okay. This is the consistent theme here. Okay. I can now strip the emotions from it. It's like a good friend of mine who works in Major League Baseball, gave me this, and I lovingly told him I'm going to steal this and use it all the time. He was like, when you are looking to make a trade, you can only base your decision off of what's written on the back of the baseball card, not what you hope this person's going to do or what plays they might make. You have to base the decision largely on what's written on the back of the baseball card, because that's what's true. And I'm like, man, that is true in life, and it's true in leadership. It's true with this, and you can apply that to your family. Like, hey, I'm going into the holidays. These people are going to be there. Cousin Eddie's going to show up. He's going to come in this way. He's going to look like this. This is what it's going to be like. That's what's on the back of the baseball card. I can now use that as my baseline.
He's going to dump his sewer stuff into the drainage, and
we're going to end up going to Walmart. I'm going to buy him a ton of dog food. We're going to do this. Like, that's just what's going to happen. And that's what's on the back of the card. I can base my responses going forward knowing that, like, okay, some or all of that is a good chance can happen. Great. I already know that. That eliminates the emotional response or reduces it. And now I can choose to navigate it in a way that's best for me. For everything that is good and true and right in the world, listen to me right now. If you're driving or watching, leave your hands on the wheel, but just stare at the road, but turn your ears to the radio. You have permission to feel what you actually feel during the holidays. There is an entire movie, Charlie Brown Christmas. It is literally about Charlie Brown being depressed during Christmas while everyone around him is celebrating him. And that special has resonated for over 60 years because it's honest. Sometimes the holidays feel heavy. It's okay. Sometimes you have something going on at work. That's okay. Sometimes things are just drawing your attention elsewhere, and there's an elephant in the room of your life that's keeping you from being as present as you would prefer to be for the holidays. That's okay. You can feel exactly what you feel first, not what someone else thinks you should feel. So how do you work through that with your clients, Mark? Because that was I came at a very brash approach with that one.
No, I don't think it is. I think it's very apropos to the conversation that we have to give ourselves permission to feel what we feel.
Yeah.
And without judgment. And there's a caveat here, not a but a caveat. Then we have to decide what we do with that.
Like, you're allowed to feel a certain way, but you also are then taking ownership in how you move through it.
I think we in religious circles, we get almost placated. Well, you shouldn't feel that way. Well, I can't help how I feel. And the emotion that is coming up for me right now is not sinful. What I do with it might be. And I think that's where we have to make the distinction, is allowing ourselves to experience the full force of our emotion, and then begin to make decisions and meaning making out of that, and choices. Now here's the piece that most people don't want to hear. We are free to choose. We're not free from the consequences of our choices.
Intent versus impact.
Right. And we can stay stuck. We can choose to stay stuck. We can choose to be a Grinch or a curmudgeon because of how the emotion that's coming up for us. Or we can say, I don't, this is what it is. I don't like it. It's not going away. I can't get rid of it. Or it's not going away as fast as I want to, right? Because every emotion has a beginning and an end and a climax. But it depends on the situation. And I still can say in the moment, I'm going to try my hardest to find something good, to find joy, to find these things. It doesn't cancel that emotion out, but it gets us maybe not so focused on it.
Just find something that's okay and lean to it. Mm-hmm.
So here's an example. This time of year, I love this time of year in my own house. I love helping, bake. There's things outside I want to do. I'm usually mobile. I'm not mobile. I've been for the last 5.5 weeks, I've been sitting on my butt, trying to heal. And so this morning I was kind of in a grumpy mood when I woke up because I didn't sleep well. I'm hurt all over right now. It's not great. I sat down in my normal spot, and my lovely wife got me a piece of coffee. But there's an Italian cookie that we eat at our house called a pizzelle. And a pizzelle is basically a thin, like waffle cone texture, but it's an anise cookie. So anise is that licorice flavor, but it's in a really, and I love them. My grandma, I grew up eating them, my Italian grandmother and that kind of stuff. So for about a half hour, this is why I texted you this morning, for about a half hour, I had a cup of coffee and I had my pizzelle, and everything was okay. My pain didn't go away. The fact that I'm still in recovery didn't go away. The fact that I have a long way to go didn't go away. The fact that I didn't sleep last night didn't go away. But in that half-hour moment, everything was okay. It wasn't fireworks and fantastic. It was okay. And I got to sit with my family, my girls, my boy, my wife, and just have a morning opportunity. And so I had to actually take my own advice and just sit with that for a little bit.
So to dive down and get really practical with that, how can someone listening say, "Oh, that's great. You're still going through your day," but how could you then translate that into setting like a holiday boundary that actually works to help you navigate this season, this next week? Is it as simply as setting a boundary that says, "Hey, you know what? I'm going to be extra aware of who I am and my needs, and I will continuously stop. And if I need something for myself, I'll do that so that I can show up well for other people."
Yeah, I think that's good. But yeah, I like that. I also think, I'm just thinking, so we watch Bluey all the time in our family. And a lot of times there's moments where the animation in Bluey slows down to really zone in on something beautiful, like a dragonfly or a flower or something like that. And I just kind of got that in my mind that maybe we need to zone in or hone in on something that is beautiful. So like, I'm going to try my best to experience this next week through the eyes of my 4-year-old. Right. And find the joy in that. If I'm still struggling with my own physical health and how I'm feeling and my own mental struggles, maybe that's the way to do it. Maybe it's a bite of grandma's pecan pie, that first bite, you slow down and just enjoy that. I don't know. I think there's no real formula. And I think that's where I get so frustrated with like the Instagram, TikTok therapist type stuff is, hey, just do these 5 things and you will be just fine. I think it's so uniquely different for everybody, but I think there's practices. So your example, slowing down, I think, and creating space, stepping away if you need to, pre-planning your battles is a really good one. Choosing to experience it through somebody else's eyes for a little bit, slowing down in that piece, I think is important. And there's just a lot of different things we can do. And we're talking, there's people probably listening going, great guys, none of that's going to work. I've tried those things and this is just going to suck. Okay. So maybe you're the one that just has to get through Christmas Eve and Christmas, and then you do something for yourself the day after.
It's like a bear hunt. You can't go over it. You can't go around it. You can't go under it. You got to go through it. I've just got a couple simple takeaways and we'll land the plane because Christmas is coming. I mean, you can't avoid it. You could go buy a one-way ticket to Belize and go sit on an island somewhere. Your family would probably miss you. And even if you are watching right now, and I want to be sensitive to this, and you just don't have a lot that you are excited about as this time comes, that's okay. Christmas and the holiday season doesn't have to be a happy celebratory time for you, for anyone. It's okay. And I would, to that person, I would challenge you to take a deep breath, step outside, and just vocally just sit there and say, and then think of something that makes you okay right now, and then verbally just say, I am not as great as I would like to be right now, or I'm not as excited as I could be about the holidays right now, but I am more excited than I was yesterday, or I am more excited than I could be. You know, it's okay. Right? You're not as good as you'd like to be. You're not as bad as you could be either. And then pick a boundary and set it in place. The last thing about boundaries, they're immovable. They're not meant to be fortified walls that you go hide behind. Boundaries can be raised, lowered, and adjusted or removed based on the scenario. Pick one. Quite simply, what is your non-negotiable? What is one thing that you're not going to do at that one holiday event that you're heading towards that's stressing you out? Just name it and hold to it. If it's something that you can communicate to a spouse or to partner, to a friend, communicate it. Plan your exit. Know when you're leaving. I don't like open-ended events. I don't like going somewhere where I could just linger forever. I am much fine staying somewhere longer if we agree to stay for an hour and then there's opportunity to stay longer. I'm much more fine with that. I just don't want to go in somewhere with an open-ended time frame saying, what's going on? So plan your exit. Lastly, invite somebody in, whether it's your spouse or someone. Text a friend who gets it. Sometimes just simply knowing someone is in your corner and understands the craziness or the Cousin Eddie hurricane of the season you're going through, that's fine. They don't have to fix it. They don't have to solve it, but just knowing you have someone there.
That's huge. You and I both have that, the people that get us that we can talk to if we need to.
Yeah. And lastly, pay attention to what you pay attention to. Pay attention to what you're feeling. Schedule some recovery time afterwards. Holidays are heavy. You're going to eat a lot anyway. So use that as an example to go rest. It's totally fine. Eat all the turkey, eat all the stuff you want. Whatever event you're going to, whether it's a holiday party, whether it's Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, the gambit of things that are coming, take some time to decompress. I can't say that enough. You will very easily say, I can't do that. I have kids. I have this. I have too many of these demands. Those demands will still be there. They will still be there if you carve out 30 minutes. They will still be there the next day, the next week, the next month. They're going to be there in 2026. Your health and your ability to show up well for others depends on yourself, your ability to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to commit to 30 minutes. I'm going to commit to a walk. I wanted to go for a hike in the mountains last weekend. Wasn't feasible. I still told my girlfriend, hey, I'm going to go for a couple hours and just go to one of the parks by and take the dog and go hike a park for a couple hours. Couldn't do a full day, carved out a couple hours, still maintained my commitments, but I was like, I need this. And I came out the other side. The time and my presence with other people was multiplied because I slowed down for 2 hours so that I could speed up. Guys, that's a lot. It'll be in the show notes. We'll have some resources for you as always. Again, this is not counseling. This is designed to help you in your mental health journey to make sense of all the crazy stuff that's out there, to cut through the noise. And our hope is that at least one thing stands out to you in any of these episodes. If we've done that, we're winning. And we're super thankful for you guys. For Mark and I both, have a Merry Christmas. Have a restful Christmas. Enjoy it. Send us an email, comment on social media, leave a comment on the video on YouTube. Let us know how it went for you and share your experience. And just know you just have to get through it. You don't have to get through it all at one time. You just have to get through it one thing at a time. And that's enough. You guys are amazing. And we'll be right back here next week on another episode